Welcome to the Cincy Postcast presented by LASIK.com, where better vision equals better calls. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, let me tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. That's right, sponsoring this and so many other episodes this year. Streetside is our home away from home. It is a great place to watch FC Cincinnati games, particularly those away games. They have delicious beer on tap, a constant rotating list of beers that are always delicious and a huge variety. They also have a wonderful burger food truck just outside at all times, and there is usually a rotating guest food truck there as well. Live music regularly on the weekends, as well as other sporting events. It is such a cool place. You got to check them out over on the east side of Cincinnati. I'm telling you, it's a great place for an away match. So go check them out because they were so generous to sponsor this episode. You owe them a visit. Visit our friends over at Streetside Brewery. And on today's episode, we are discussing a draw that felt like a loss, but maybe we lost the battle but won the war against Lucho Acosta. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it. But Lucho Acosta comes back to town, and boy, did he get a greeting that he was not anticipating. In part one, we are talking about the match and what went right in the first half, and boy, what went wrong in the second half. Part two, we talk about Lucho's post-game comments, which if you have not heard were a handful. And we wrap it all up with a look to DC United come to town on Saturday. Put it all together, you got yourselves a very Lucho podcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I'm joined by two gentlemen who have had a night to think about it. Joined by Chief, joined by Grayson. Grayson, are you glad you got a night to think about it? The original plan, peek behind the curtain, was to record last night. And we almost did. Are you glad we didn't?
Yes.
I mean, you were the deciding vote in not wanting to record. Kevin and I were kind of like,
I was the first one.
We?
Full disclosure, full transparency. I pulled myself out. And if you saw my Twitter last night, you may have a guess as to why. I just made a decision that I wasn't going to be very good on the show. And frankly, I think it went well because some stuff has happened that we wouldn't have been able to really touch on. Had we recorded right after.
This is true. And it gave you plenty of time to go to Sibsy Klein and get a real estate agent's for sale sign to put on Pat Noonan's front yard. So that's good for everybody right here.
Oh, no.
Created the biopic Open to Work.
I mean, I hear it's a hot market out in Brewer.
Yeah, it's probably good. Don't podcast angry. Don't podcast when you're in your feels.
It's a different kind of angry. Like the Nick Hagland injury.
Right.
Righteous anger.
That's righteous anger. And
that feels
this was
good.
Just straight up
yes,
anger.
That was right after the game. But I take nothing back.
No, I stand by my takes.
From how we reacted to that and how we view it. And
you probably would have had a lot to take back if we would have done this last night.
Yeah, like I had time this morning to delete some tweets.
Got to keep the timeline clean. Got to keep it clean in case people look back.
I gotta say, I probably should have deleted all of them. I just deleted a couple, and because some of it's like, you know what, like how like how a 3-year-old, delivers an outburst, but gentle parenting tells you like, yes, it may be unreasonable, but they are experiencing a genuine emotion.
Yes.
I was experiencing a genuine emotion. And so, if I was writing some of these tweets now, would I put things differently? Yeah, probably. But you know what? I had a feeling and I expressed it.
It was real to you.
And it was real to me. And I don't think that it would be fair to me or, our paying audience to entirely erase that moment, because part of the thing with the show is we're not overly curating ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, we try to make the conversation good or whatever. We want people to keep listening, but you're getting, for better and mostly worse.
Mostly worse.
Mostly
almost
worse,
entirely
yes.
worse. Yeah.
You're getting our genuine thoughts, if you want to dignify them as thoughts.
Many people have noted that what the audience truly craves is authenticity. And nothing is more authentic than me being very, very deep in my feels with access to a phone and the Bird app or Discord or what have you. The thing is, too, is that last night would have been bad for any number of reasons to record. But I think that what really needs to be put in perspective, and when Grayson was referring to, we have more things to talk about now as a result of waiting for a day. We'll get to the comments Mr. Acosta made after the game.
Oh my God.
But on the whole, I think the way that this conversation about the game and the reactions last night, not just from us, there was a lot out there. I'm not going to suffer alone on this in terms of, a genuine feeling that was real to me. It very much felt like showing off for your ex-girlfriend or your ex-significant other that they're back in town and you want to present the best version of you. That, you know what? You told me I wasn't good enough, and damn it, I've got a good job. I've got a house. My new significant other is way smarter, way better looking, and a way better person than you. I want to show out that I've got my life together. And what kind of ended up happening was, we noticed our fly was down. We tripped on the curb. We ripped our pants. And we found out that we made the dinner reservation for a week from Saturday instead of Saturday.
It was good. It was a real good call by the haters.
Yeah.
Moment.
Shout out to the haters.
That was a good call.
That was a good call.
Haters said I couldn't do it. They were right. Shout out to the haters.
And so that was like, a loss hurts. A tie that feels like a loss hurts the same way a loss does. But a loss to the person who told you weren't good enough for me and I need to move on, and very publicly said, I can't win here. I'm done here. And we will touch on the truthfulness of those statements here in a second. But then for him to come in and, kind of prove his point, and for the guy that replaced him that we were all convinced is our better new significant other to kind of no-show in the game, the biggest moments, I said to some people, I think I might have even said on the podcast, that last night for me was one of the top 3 or 4 most must-win games in FC history. It's like the Detroit City FC game, Columbus Crew in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then you got to go beat Lucho Acosta in his first time back. Maybe his only time back based on the quirks of MLS scheduling. And when that didn't happen, man, did a lot of us, myself included, go to a really negative headspace in that moment. And I apologize for nothing, but I feel like it has to be acknowledged as part of this conversation that for the fans, I think last night meant a lot more than perhaps it may have to the players and the coaching staff.
I would buy that. The one thing I would say, and I would add on to your incredible metaphor, is that the ex showed up and had really bad plastic surgery. Like really bad. Because as much as we had success with Acosta, and as painful as it was to lose him, I mean, he wasn't that good last night. He had one or two moments, but he was largely anonymous. He was pouting the whole time. I think the crowd got into his head very quickly. One very slight annoying thing. The first corner he took, perfect. And it annoyed the shit out of me. It's like, oh, so you could do that this whole time. Okay.
Well, maybe it's a coaching thing then. Maybe they're coached to take bad corners.
Makes you think.
Makes you wonder.
But I mean, I was not impressed with Acosta. I think if you came away that night and you didn't, from last night, if you did not know who Lucho Acosta was and the history and all that, and somebody said like, oh, wouldn't you rather him play than Evander for your team? You'd be like, no, what? He's as average as anybody else out there.
Yeah, I think that it also hurt a little bit that Evander didn't look that good either. And like if you went into this game thinking, oh, it's a battle of the old number 10, the new number 10, you would be forgiven for wondering, did either of those guys play? Because I might have I feel like I missed that confrontation, or at least they missed the memo that this was a storyline for this game.
Yeah, we could have had more there. I agree.
Yeah, Evander's ability to like disappear for stretches, to be a passenger in games is, I don't know, not what we were sold. And I don't know if that's what the team thought they were buying. I know that even the team, when they described him, said it's not a pure like for like. And I even said that I thought this was a guy who didn't need to be, played through at all times, that would give us freedom to have like more of an offense that wasn't solely just give the ball to the 10 and then hope he does something. But I do kind of hope he would do something.
Yeah, you want him to be able to take charge in a game and take over a game.
Or at least like, okay, well, we need a spark. He'll pull something out.
Yeah.
Right.
And he has done that sometimes.
Right.
But he has not done that a lot of times.
Right. And where that has come have been from dead ball opportunities and things like that.
And I wasn't bothered by like the number of like deflected goals that he had.
Yeah.
And I won't be bothered by them if he scores like a lot more goals or gets some more assists and stuff.
Yeah.
But given the last few games, it does make you like go back and think about those deflected goals as having more salience to his stats at this point in the season.
Yeah. For whatever it's worth, he is tied with Leo Messi in goals plus assists on the season. That is good for 4th place in MLS. There's a handful of other people tied with him, and I will not name all of them, but yes.
So let's start with the lineups here, because I think that also will lead into a lot of the conversations we're going to have about this game.
Yes. So, so let's read through that. And like you said, this is absolutely a talking point going into the night. Roman Celentano in goal, of course. It was a back line of Gilberto Flores, Miles Robinson, Alvis Powell, that was left to right. Luca Orishano on the left side of the defense, a position that I want to say up to this point we have not seen him start at, with DeAndre Yedlin as your right wing back. Buka and Wobodo as the holding midfielders, with Evander ahead of them, and up top, two strikers of Sergio Santos and Kevin Denkey. As far as rotation is concerned, this was a night off for Dado. This was a night off for Matt Miazga. This was a night off for Teenage Davy. This was a night off for Lucas Engel. So a lot of rotation happening here in this one. I don't know, Chief, thoughts when you first saw this drop?
I was annoyed, and I won't hide this. And that's that. I'm sorry. This team plays on Saturday. It's 3 matches in a week. I get it's a very busy match week. They're off for 2 weeks after this. They only play 3 games in June. I don't understand rotation and minute management right now when they are going to have such a light workload over the next 4 weeks. Anyone that is worked hard in this week with matches is going to have a ton of time off to recover. Just because of how incredibly light their schedule is. I don't think, if you haven't looked at the calendar, they are off for 2 weeks after Saturday. They play a grand total of 3 matches in June. They're all on the road, but they have after a very busy May, they have nothing going on in June. So I'm a little surprised at the level of rotation for what amounts to 2 of your last home games for a very long period of time, and 2 games where you really need to get points in these games. You really need to win these games against inferior opponents. The part that stuck out at me are 2. Number one, it's Luca Orishano on the other wing. Yeah. And to me, one of the through lines of this game and this season so far, and we'll get to it when we talk about Coach Pat Noonan's comments afterwards, is I think that the coaching staff is desperately trying to do something to get Luca Orishano being productive. I don't think they have an idea right now as to how he fits on this team, because they have tried him as a center forward and it was bad. They put him over on the right wing in place of DeAndre Yedlin. It was better. He still hasn't scored any goals over there. They move him over to the left wing for this game, and it looks okay-ish at times, but then he just gets absolutely abused on defense, and we'll talk about that in the second half. Like, one of the worst defensive performances I think I've ever seen from an FC Cincinnati player in the Noonan era. Like, at times it resembled Nijkamp and Stam era defending, with just totally switching off, not being able to do basic things to defend your position on the field. So that's one. The other is the back line. And I think we all thought, Flores, we all had a high impression of Flores. We all think Robinson is good. I think all 3 of us like Alvis Powell. Yeah. I think that we think he's a good depth piece. The back line is less than the sum of its parts when Matt Miazga is not on the field. And I think we have a big enough sample size now to say that Miles Robinson just isn't that guy in terms of being a leader and being someone that commands the back line of a defense. I don't want to put all of it on him because I think that's unfair. But what I can say for certain with my eyes is that there is a significant drop off in this back line when Matt Miazga is not one of the 3 players that is back there taking charge and taking command. So between those 2 things, in hindsight, it's probably not surprising that this defense got walked all over in the second half of this game.
Yeah, I will say, Chief, on the point about Luca Orishano, Noonan addressed that directly in the postgame press conference, where he was asked, was this an attempt to find an effective spot for Luca? Essentially, I'm paraphrasing the question. And Pat addressed it head on and said, no, this was rotation. It was entirely about giving Lucas Engel a rest and moving him to the other side, seeing what it looked like. So they were curious what it looked like, but it was driven, according to Noonan, by
I don't buy that.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's a fair interpretation as well.
I don't fully buy it either. I was going to bring that up, Kevin, if you didn't, because I think it's relevant, that Noonan made that comment.
Yeah.
I don't I'm with Chief. I don't fully believe it. I mean, maybe there was a portion of it, but like, if you just wanted to rotate, you could start Brad Smith.
Yeah. Or even put Yedlin over there and see what that looks like. Right?
Yeah. But this is a choice to have non-inverted wingbacks in the game. And, he did a lot of the same good stuff that you've seen him do.
Yeah. I liked the offensive production from there. Yeah.
It's like, obviously he didn't score a goal.
Right.
But I still think that even though it often doesn't come to much and the team doesn't overall look that good, his ability to advance the ball on the dribble is one of the more effective and dangerous things that this team does.
Yeah. I will say, to Orishano's credit in this game, he, at least from that position, in a non-inverted position, he did look to pass more. I think he ends up with the MLS, the hockey assist on Buka's goal, I believe, is the ball coming in from him over to Yedlin, who lays off to Buka on that game. The story of this with Orishano is the defense, though. It's horrid in this game. Like, his defense is horrid. And you can forgive bad defense to a certain extent. His defense was not only horrid, it was lazy. Like, there was a goal that was scored as a direct result of him not hustling and keeping with a man that was, that he was marking. And it leads to a wide open opportunity for Dallas that they score on.
Yeah.
And so and you would think, and we've talked about this, that it's okay. You can play a more attacking wing. We want our wing backs to be, more attacking, more advanced. That's what Wobodo is there for. But you can't be offering nothing. Like, you still have to run with your man and track with your man. And Barreal wasn't a great defender either. Barreal at least, ran with his guys and was at least there being in the way. You can't totally switch off on either side of the field as an attacking wingback. And I think we saw a little too much of that from Orishano.
They have to play it back four, right?
Yeah.
I think they do, but again, I don't see Pat Noonan doing it. I don't think he wants to. I don't think that's what he wants to play. I don't think that's the way he wants to set the team up. They have had so many opportunities to go to a back four, and they just refuse to do it. I just don't think it's in his DNA.
If you want to chuckle, go to FBref and look up Luca Orishano's percentile numbers versus fullbacks. And I understand it's not a great comparison because he plays wingback, but he is basically in the 95th to 99th percentile in every stat until you get to defense, and any of the defensive stats, he's no higher than the 5th percentile.
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
Kevin, your boy Dado didn't get the start in this game. It's Sergio Santos.
That's the spot I'm looking at first, man.
Yeah.
Like,
talk to me about your feelings when you see this lineup and Dado, who I think we all agree was kind of like one of the lone bright spots in the Atlanta United game. Yeah. And he's starting this game on the Pine.
I have to assume that just Dado is not as in shape as I want him to be is the only reasonable excuse I can make here. He is...
A man's 22 years old. Like,
that's what I'm saying, though.
We have posited that, at least I have posited, I don't know if you guys have necessarily agreed, that Noonan thinks Dado is a little snot-nosed brat. And just something about Dado rubs Noonan the wrong way.
He does have kind of a vibe about him now of like a teen movie villain, just the way he looks. Like, this is not, it's just, there's an aura there that is, I'm here to steal your lunch money and your girl.
He does have a look where he's like, Stan Darsh.
You pizza when you're going to French fry, you're going to have a bad time.
But I would hate to think that the coach is intentionally playing worse lineups because he's got a personality issue with a player. But also, I can't not see that when it came time to make a forward sub when they were up, he went to Kamara. And then once Dallas tied and they needed to score, that sub wasn't enough. He also had to then bring in Dado.
An actual offensive piece. It
felt like his hand was forced because of in that he wasn't going to bring in Dado unless he really, really had to. But it felt like an acknowledgement that if you're looking at your bench, who's most likely to bring you a goal or to create a goal, it's Dado. And so, like, I think there may have to be so I think maybe we need to do like I'm Dado all ears and I'm Coach Blunt. They need to do some kind of like role-playing scenario with Noonan and Dado so that they can like talk to each other and be friends. Because the team is not in a position, in my view, I could be wrong, where we can just like bench good attacking options because somebody's, got a pissy attitude.
I will say, according to Pat Noonan in the post-game press conference, he said that tonight, I'm going to read verbatim here from his quote. Tonight was a game where we anticipated rotation for 3 or 4 guys.
I'm just not happy with this.
He was rotation. One of them because his performance in Atlanta warranted a start, which I will say, I applaud Pat Noonan being the bigger man in this feud that we've entirely made up for admitting that Dado needs deserved to start. But I agree with you, Grayson, that in what world, and borrowing from Chief's point earlier, in what world does the 22-year-old need rest when he will have essentially weeks off after this week? That maybe if you get the win here, then you could maybe rotate versus DC. Like, I think I'd rather earn the rotation rather than now be in a weird position where you kind of have to go for the DC game. Not that you shouldn't have been not going for it, but clearly they're minute managing here. I think I would have rather earned the rotation rather than being forced into this weirdness. And yeah, why wouldn't he be then the first choice off the bench? This needed to be a 5+ point week. They were playing 3 bad teams. Yeah. 2 of them at home. If you aspire to be a Shield contender and you aspire to finish high enough in the East to host multiple playoff games, and if you aspire to gel sufficiently that by the end of the year you're firing on all cylinders, you're playing at peak performance, and you're ready to make a run at MLS Cup, this was a really important week to pick up a lot of points, but also to, see the ball hit the back of the net a lot. And to be fair, they did see the ball hit the back of the net a lot, but they saw the ball hit the back of their net and their opponent's net a lot. Both, right? Yeah.
And this is this is now a max 4-point week where, again, you played 3 bad teams, 2 of them at home.
Yeah.
And, after 2 games, you lost, you have a loss in a draw. And even the circumstances of the draw we can talk about, but the fact of the draw is bad enough.
Yeah.
And I just don't see how you could have looked at this game as one where you're rotating. Like, I know Nick got hurt, not anticipated.
Yep.
And I guess it sounds like they don't feel like Miazga can play midweek if he can play like Sunday, Wednesday.
I do think in fairness to the team here a little bit, I think going Sunday, Wednesday is a little different than Saturday, Wednesday. And so I think any of the guys who
but
were,
Atlanta went Sunday, Wednesday, and they beat Orlando.
True.
They did
also
have
at home.
They did get the advantage of a fluky red card and then, a man advantage then to come back. But still, like, yes, there are things that you could point to this week. There are things you could have pointed to earlier in the season with the club, with the CONCACAF Champions League and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And to point to and say, like, yeah, these are tough circumstances. Lots of teams are dealing with tough circumstances and they don't have a roster.
Right.
And I think you can both acknowledge that, like, Sunday, Wednesday isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, but also say the team that we played was terrible and we were at home.
Yeah.
And the thing too is that, like, of all the rotations to make, like, okay, Miazga, fine. He's coming back from a knee injury. I think that he needed to be in the lineup, but I get if you're going to say, hey, he played a match on turf on Sunday, coming back onto a match on Wednesday. That's a little much. Dado's 22 years old, man. Like, he should have been starting this match. He should have been playing at least 70, 80 minutes of this match. And, Noonan says, hey, he earned a start. Well, he didn't get it. And so I am now officially curious as to what it is that is keeping Dado on the bench, whether it's, an effort thing in training, whether it's a effort playing defense and defending his position, whether it's just that Noonan doesn't like what he provides, every other thing besides scoring goals. But it can't be scoring goals because he's about the only guy other than Kevin Denkey that is scoring goals from the run of play consistently.
Yeah. And they've talked about this before, where the hope was that Evander and Denkey would be Batman and Robin, but we've ended up in this weird situation where neither one of them
is Batman.
Or is Robin, I would say. It's like we ended up with, I think it was Taylor Twellman who said this, is that we ended up with Batman and Superman, and there's just like no other supporting cast. Dado being that guy offers so much. And I think if you're seeing that start to build, you gotta just let it play out. Like, even if it's a planned sub of pull him off at halftime, right? Like, I think I would have rather have seen that. It does seem, though, a little awkward, too, that Dado does appear to be the only option deeper in the midfield that is able to come in, I guess, other than Brian Anunga. So if you're not wanting to go crazy defensive, he's the only possible sub for Obi or Buka.
Kubo would be an option if he's available.
True.
I think Corey Baird is an option there, although he wouldn't be an option for me above Dado.
Right.
And also, Corey Baird needs to be an option for his natural position of wingback.
Of course.
I don't want to. I think Dado should have played this game. I think he should have started this game. I think that the results of him coming in and scoring again in limited minutes, I feel confident in my position. I am now a Dado believer. Congratulations, Kevin. I am now part of the cult.
We did it.
Right.
We did it.
Like,
meetings are on Thursdays.
You didn't even need to send me into like the facility with a rope like Evan Loro with the Scientologists. Having said that, I know he's overpaid. I know he's the first guy I would cut in order to make more room for a summer edition. I am starting to really like the Sergio Santos, where he is informed by the coaching staff at the start of the game that you need to give us 55 to 60 very high energy minutes. And when you exit the game, the fuel tank needs to be at 0.
Yeah.
And so he spends the entirety of that time playing at 11 in terms of speed, tempo, and effort. And what it lacks in effectiveness, it certainly makes up for in entertaining to watch, just as he pings around the field at top speed at all times. And you know what? This was the first match where he finally outran someone and got behind someone. Didn't lead to a goal. It led to, I think, maybe a save or a shot that went over the bar, but he definitely got behind someone and got 1v1 with the keeper, which is all I've been asking for this entire time.
Also, I like his current hair.
Current hair is elite.
It makes him look faster.
Yeah.
For one. And two, it's good to look at. Like it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
He needs to. I like his current hair. I think he should rock it for a bit.
Yeah. Completely agree. So let me ask you this. Let me just throw something out there. I have come to the belief that I think we'd be better if Evander moved further back in the midfield and we bench Obi and Dado plays the 10 with Santos and Denkey up top. Assuming the system as it exists now is immovable, but you can swap out personnel. To me, it might be our best setup going forward.
It is interesting. It is interesting though, because Obi, this was the most advanced I've seen Obi play in this formation. Like it's what we've been asking for. And like, no, that position, that number 6, it needs to get further forward to offer more of an attacking threat. And when Obi ventured forward, he ventured forward into space because teams just don't play like they have to stop him on the dribble. And so if that's an adjustment that Obi has made and the coaching staff has made, that's great. I love that. So if the idea would be that Evander can get the ball in more low, like deeper positions to help start the build versus being someone that receives at the end of the build, I don't hate it. It's just that Evander has a very casual relationship with defense.
Yes.
And by casual relationship with defense, I mean, he doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how that would work.
I'm not sure you can start Orishano if you play Evander deeper. I'm not against it because I don't think Orishano was undroppable by any means.
Yeah.
Like, it may be worth sitting him a game and trying something differently, and then seeing how the game progresses, then figuring out like what's the best position to sub him into.
Right. Yeah. Where do we need that help, that offensive spark? But
if you do drop Evander deeper, which again is an idea that excites me, and it's something I think I've proposed before.
Yeah.
I think Yedlin and Engel have to be your wingbacks, or Powell and Engel.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it would solve a number of problems to do it that way. Number one, Evander wants to get further back anyway, and he's so passive in the offensive third that I don't know that he gets on the ball reliably enough in those positions to make him useful there. I also think that it would sort of solve when you see the passing charts for this team, like they post on MLS Analytics on Blue Sky, we've talked about the horseshoe of doom before, where the ball just keeps getting recycled left center back, right center back, and goalkeeper. And we're passing around the midfield line back and forth. If Evander was a little deeper, then you can start to, have something that's in between or a little more advanced than that to start building out maybe some more passing triangles and some more options to move the ball centrally through the midfield. So, I mean, it solves that. The other thing that it would solve too is that this team wants to high press. The problem is it's probably the only thing Kevin Denkey doesn't do elite. I think he is merely okay as a pressing center back.
Center forward.
Center forward. Yeah. Like, you compare where Kevin Denkey is to like Kevin Kelsey in his high press last year. And Kelsey, despite being a far less experienced player and far less accomplished player, was exponentially better in a high pressing situation as a center forward or a striker than Kevin Denkey is. And Evander is, I would say, outright awful at high pressing. And that was kind of put into perspective last night when you saw Lucho in the way that he high presses, and you just remember what a pest he is, or what pest he was. And then you see Evander in that same position, and Evander just, it's not, like to quote Jonah, it's not really his thing when it comes to the high press. And if you moved Evander back and had someone like Dado in that spot, I haven't seen what Dado looks like in a high press. It would be hard to be worse than Evander at the high press. So, I mean, if that's something that Pat Noonan feels is an essential element of this team, then yeah, I could see that. But I agree with Grayson. You can't put Orishano on the field in that situation. And you also need to, I thought this was Yedlin's best game that he's played in a while, but he needs to keep playing this way. He needs to keep being willing to go forward, to, you know, make himself available for attacking through balls down the wings. He can't be as passive defensively as he's been in some situations, as in a lot of situations, if you're going to take Luka off the field, I think.
Yeah, Yedlin with 5 chances created on the night. Compare that to Lucho's 0 and Evander's 2. He was a very productive member of the team last night. Enjoyed that. And yeah, I'll say too, I think Evander sitting further back would allow him to pop up in places where we've seen Buka and Obi take, you know, top of the box shots. And I just trust Evander to hit those better and more often. So I think it could be a deadly position for him on the field, because I think he would basically be out of sight, out of mind for defenses right up until he stepped up into what I think is probably his best position in shooting there.
Well, because if you have Evander farther back as an option for center backs, right?
Right.
He can, on a pass from a center back, he has a wide enough toolkit that he can like get some space on a dribble. If a defender's on him, he can cycle it back. He can find Buka or a 10 who's in front of him.
Yep.
Or he could play a ball like, you know, over the top of the defense if like Santos or Denkey sees a run. I mean, there's a lot of things that he can do from that position if you also then have players ahead of him.
Yeah.
Like you would have a 10 and your two forwards ahead of him. But he can still take free kicks and corner kicks and stuff. And yeah, like him as like a late runner at the top of the box, or like that feels like a real nice spot for him.
Yeah.
And he has played a lot of that in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's just, he wears the number 10 in MLS, and there's like an idea of what an MLS number 10 does. And if it's not the most effective place for him, or if there's a place where he can be more effective, you know, we should be exploring that stuff.
Well, all right. So I'm not the tactics guy. I never have been the tactics guy.
Nobody is. Nobody in this city is.
Correct.
I get it. But like, I think that, and tell me if this is a dumb take. It probably is. I think what we're discovering in sort of real time is that Evander has elite skills for a 10 in this league. I don't think he has those elite skills as a 10 in a back 3. That like, I think that his skill set as a 10 plays much better with a back 4.
So this is funny because I do not remember where I saw this and read this, and I apologize, I cannot attribute this correctly. And I might have just heard somebody else describing this, but I seem to remember somewhere somebody described, Evander said he prefers a back 3 because it gives him more freedom with a less crowded midfield. And he likes having the freedom to drift wherever he would like.
I guess that's fine.
It better to have him then as more of an 8?
That's where my mind went.
But also,
give
it's
him
like
more options in
he
front.
he earned a $12 million fee playing in Portland where they play a back four. Like,
Yeah, right.
we bought a guy who's a 10 for a back four. And he says maybe he likes playing this more. That's great. You don't look better playing it. Like, it's kind of like Barrial all over again. It's like, I like playing winger a lot better than wing back. Yeah, my man, but you're good at being a wing back. You're not as good being a winger. I'm sorry that that's more fun for you, but like, you objectively look better doing this than you do doing that.
Yeah. The other thing I think I'm realizing especially as the season goes along, but specifically tonight as the conversation goes along, how much we as a team, as a podcast, as a fan base, as a city are missing good Yuya. Good Yuya Kubo being able to plug in as a striker, being able to plug in as a competent midfielder. I mean, good Yuya at his peak was a very Buka-esque midfielder. He subbed in as a serviceable 10 from time to time. I think we are truly missing that player. I don't know what his injury situation is. He did not.
Do you think his minutes would be coming at the expense of Dado though if he was healthy?
Potentially. Now there is a world where you move Evander back, and then one of Kubo and Dado is in that attacking three with Denkey. Make it a sword, make it a two striker formation, whatever. Just keep it more vague. I think good Kubo is better than current Santos, but even when we saw Kubo earlier this year, we didn't see that. We saw maybe somebody dealing with a nagging injury, maybe somebody still rusty from not getting the preseason that he thought he was going to have. I don't know what it is, but if there's an opportunity to shop this summer, I'd be looking for a Kubo profile player, I think specifically.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Yeah. Buka, nice to see Buka get a goal.
Yeah. By the way, did you guys catch this? That was announced in the stadium as an own goal.
Yeah, I know. I booed it loudly. I wasn't booing Lucho, but I booed that loudly.
I was not happy. I was not happy with that. I was.
It was very clearly not an own goal.
It did deflect off of Ibiaga, but the ball was on frame, and the rule is if the ball's on frame, it's your goal.
Yeah. No, the ball was clearly on frame.
He did get credit for the goal ultimately.
Yeah.
But I got to say, look, if you're the in-stadium announcer,
give your guy the credit. Give him the shine.
Give your guy the goal.
Yeah. Well, make the official scorer take that away from him.
Yes.
Give him the moment in the stadium with the crowd. Yeah. And then, quietly issue the retraction via writing in the press box.
It's a very Cincinnati thing to assume that your guy doesn't get the stat.
Oh, he didn't mean to do that.
It was an own goal. Now I'm sad. We got to apologize about it. No, Pavel Buka scored a hell of a goal.
Yeah, yes. Strongest man on the field.
Strongest man on the field.
Got an assist on that goal. Give the man his assist. He was aggressive, and he deserves credit for that.
And the goal is great too, because it is the two wingbacks sort of combining in the best of what we have wanted from the attacking wingback setup, which is it's Orishano cutting in from that left side, taking on a man, beating a man, crossing the ball over the box to Yedlin, who then plays it back into
first touch one time right to Buka. Buka with a laser blast.
So good. And
thank God they weren't inverted, huh?
Yeah, you know what? Hey, fair play. That all worked out really nicely. And I will say, rotation or not, I wouldn't mind seeing it again, maybe with a better backline. Obviously,
maybe with some marching orders to actually hustle.
I don't love the inverted wingbacks on this team with the back five. Because I think we don't get appropriate width. I understand that there are personnel reasons that weigh heavily in favor of it, but if there's a way we could avoid it, I would like to. I like I am more and more coming around to a back four.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if you want to have inverted wingers, I think a back four is the way to go. and you can have Yedlin and Engel get up and provide width,
Yes.
situationally and as appropriate. But
I would
whatever,
love
we'll see.
I would love to talk to, if not Pat Noonan, Kenny Arena
Or Dom
about
Kinnear. Anyone.
the philosophy behind the back five or the back three versus the back four, why they don't do it, what the thought process is, what are the advantages and disadvantages. And, I would love to hear more because I assume I'm a moron and I'm
same.
missing something obvious.
Yeah.
And so if that could be articulated, I would be more than happy to shut up about it forever.
Right. We dogged on Evander a little bit being invisible for a lot of this game. He plays one of the prettiest through balls of the night that sets up Kevin Denkey getting his PK for the second goal. And shout out to my man, Kevin. He's going to keep doing a stutter stop that I think is going to get a goal waved off at some point for stopping his forward momentum. And he beat the keeper who guessed right. So that's always a pucker up moment right there when he's diving the correct way and you still beat him. They should have scored like 3 or 4 goals in the first half, and it's really annoying they didn't.
Absolutely. Now, Grayson, before you get to that point,
I want to do. I think it's time for our LASIK moment.
It's exactly where I was going
of the match. So, Kevin, take it away.
Our good friends over at LASIK.com, who are presenting this show to you right now, are offering you, listener, the second best soccer-based podcast deal in town. $1,100 off your procedure if you go to LASIK.com/thePostSensi, because it is a real true thing that LASIK is sponsoring our podcast. I don't know how this happened, but it happened, and we are incredibly appreciative of it. There are some of the world's leading experts here in Cincinnati. You are in good hands with LASIK here in town. And if you go to, again, LASIK.com/thePostSensi, you get $1,100 off your procedure. And you can take them up on a free consultation, okay? They'll talk to you. They'll talk through it. Now, the reason why LASIK is sponsoring us, and I think they represent a noble cause that we can all get behind, is that LASIK offers free LASIK corrective eye surgery to all professional referees, both pro and the various sports. And this is why this moment is sponsored by a corrective eye surgery provider. So thank you to LASIK for sponsoring this segment. And Grayson, please tell us this moment where maybe LASIK surgery could have come in play.
Yeah. So Kevin Denkey is fouled by the keeper in the box. He takes a touch. It's kind of a classic penalty situation where the keeper just takes him out.
Yeah.
To me, it's denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity.
Yes.
In the box, where, you could make the case, and I would accept it, that the keeper was playing the ball in a loose sense.
Yeah.
But commits an undeniable foul. Under the hashtag laws of the game, a denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity in the box where a penalty is awarded and the defender here, the goalkeeper, is playing the ball is an automatic yellow card.
Yes.
This is one of those non-discretionary yellow cards, the kind that some people tried to apply to Kevin Denkey when he showed the Aaron Bupenza tribute, although I want to be clear, the referees in the pool report response referred to it only as caution noble, not that the caution was required. But this is a situation where a caution, a yellow card, is required. No yellow card is given.
Yeah. And if you, I know this came up, has come up with other things as well. There's this idea of like the double jeopardy, and like you can't offer 2 punishments for the same.
Well, it's
crime.
a red if it's outside the box.
Yes.
It's like the double jeopardy, the way they alleviate double jeopardy is where you're playing the ball
yes.
in the box.
You're making an
If
honest
there's a penalty,
attempt. Yeah.
it's a yellow.
If
that happens outside the box, it's a red.
Yes.
Even if you're making an honest attempt to play the ball. If it's a denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. So that's the double jeopardy consideration.
And it is a red in the box if there is no attempt to play the ball. Say the referee jumped on his back or something.
Right. Or the goalkeeper.
Or
If the referee jumped on his back, that'd be a different kind of thing. That would be a double
different
LASIK
moment. Different sponsor there.
Freud came up and got me there.
Pure romance.
This is sponsored by Pure. I was going to say sponsored by like the Betty Ford clinic.
So yeah, he wins the penalty fair and square. I will say overall though, if we could take a moment to talk about refereeing, I thought this was, of all of the matches, like this is an obvious moment that really stuck out as a miss, but otherwise I thought the game was mostly officiated well. I don't remember too many egregious things. I remember being upset at the end of the game, and I don't know if that's just because I really wanted a goal or it's because I was at the opposite end of the stadium.
I too was upset at the end of this game.
I met with a handful of calls.
I wasn't at my seat yet when Alvis got a second-minute yellow card.
First foul of the game.
First foul. I don't know if that was a correctly given yellow card there. And then I wasn't keeping track, but it seemed a little weird that there was 7 minutes of stoppage after the first half and 4 at the end of the second half.
5 in the second half.
It's unusual for there to be a lot more in the first half than the second, but this is like dumb stuff. And
especially compared to this past weekend,
of course.
Where it's really puts into perspective. Like, this is just normal stupidity versus outright anger.
I was not thinking about the referee hardly at all.
Yeah,
throughout the game,
which is good and what we want.
Yeah,
they should blend in.
So rather than going play by play, minute by minute.
Do we have a finish of the LASIK thing or?
Oh yeah, you got to read your last thing, don't you, Kevin?
Do I?
No, you're good.
Are we good? All right, that was the LASIK thing.
Okay,
yeah. Let's rock and roll.
Right,
get LASIK surgery.
Right.
If it's appropriate and right for you, consult a doctor.
So rather than go blow by blow of the second half, I just want to talk big picture from the second half because it sucked.
Yep.
Yeah, wait, before we get to the second half, I do want to say quickly, the first half was dope as hell. And I thought it was one of the best complete first halves of soccer that this team has put together. It reminded me a little bit of, and I know this will be triggering as well, that first half away to Tigres, to Tigres, right? That's who we played?
Yeah.
Who did we play?
Yeah.
Tigres.
And
Tigerus.
That was also an amazing first half, and the team looked really good and really competent and really complete. And then I don't know what happens.
Yeah. So my question to you two is, what are they doing at halftime? And why does this team do this so often and come out? Why do they do this at half? Why is this team so prone to good half, bad half? Maybe not even in the order of good first half, bad second half, but this team came out flat as hell in the second half. They thought that Dallas was just going to roll over and be like, well, we're going to make some business decisions and get out of here. And that didn't happen at all.
This is dumb sports guy thing, dumb sports fan stuff, but I've said it before. I don't think they're killers on this team.
No.
I think we saw a lot of, as they were squeaking out results early in the season. I don't know how many articles we saw where you had a player on the team saying well, this is a team of winners and we will, die for each other.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that
again-
from a lot of people, by the way, like
Yeah.
connected to this team, that this team, the locker room is the tightest that people have seen ever.
And once again, will you kill for each other?
Right.
Are you such a winner? Are you so dialed in that you're going to come out to start the second half with a 2-0 lead, and you're thinking, my foot is on that team's throat,
Yes.
and I need to just apply more pressure and finish it, right?
Mhm.
Or are you thinking, oh, I've got them submitted. I can
out.
cool it a little bit. I just gotta like kind of chill.
Yeah, whose team is this? Who's the guy?
I
Because
don't
that's
know.
like a big another meathead sports talk radio thing that I think is like actually
Miazga is
like
closest.
who's the guy? You're in the shit. Who's the guy that's going to stand up and be like, nope? Because that used to be Lucho. Who is that now? I don't know.
If this team were killers or had an edge to it,
Mhm.
this would be a kind of game where after the Atlanta game, you see a response.
Right.
And what we saw was
A half
a
response.
response.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, we did it.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, I worked really hard to complete half of this project, and I feel really good about the progress that I've made.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go do the crossword now.
Yeah. I'm going
Hey,
to take a little break.
The San Francisco Public School District these days, that gets you an A.
Yeah. And maybe we'll see maybe we'll see a response or statement Saturday, but I think that's too late. That's if you have the, not to go like manosphere here, but if you were like if you have the mindset, the statement game is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not, we had an opportunity to do a statement game. We blew it. And now the real statement game is Saturday.
Right. You got your ass kicked in Atlanta, and your ex-girlfriend was in the house. This was the time to be an alpha.
But is it possible to have that moment when the team has decided to rotate?
Yeah.
I feel like you just necessarily have taken that off the table.
Maybe.
But your two best players are on the field still.
Yeah.
That's true. And again, we're on anti-rotation record. I mean, okay. So it's like if you don't rotate on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
And then you win, what's the worst that happens? You're fatigued on Saturday and you don't win. Well, we didn't win Wednesday, so now we have to win Saturday.
Right. And now the couple of guys you thought you were going to be able to rest, had to play and see out part of this game and stuff like that. Yeah.
So here's where the 24 hours benefits the discourse from me in this point is that as annoying as this is, they were very unlucky to lose this game. And I mean this to tie it's a loss. Stop correcting me. It's a loss.
It is a loss. I agree. It feels like a loss.
There was a moment on the Discord I was going to put a poll up that said, did we win or draw this or lose this game? Just to see if people's memories were like, yeah, we all lost this game.
This game. It was unlucky in this regard. And that's that this is the first time in a while I have watched an MLS game where I came away from it thinking that one team did not miss a single chance they had.
Yeah.
And I mean that in this regard. I mean that in that every time Dallas had the ball in the second half, they created a scoring opportunity that they finished. They had no wasted possessions. They didn't have a ton of the ball at any point during this match. There were 10 plus minutes of possession for Cincinnati in one go, where Dallas just couldn't get the ball and get control of the ball. But every time they broke or had the ball, they got through and they scored. And in MLS, 99% of the time, teams are going to miss multiple of those chances. And I think Dallas missed maybe one good chance all game. The rest of them, when they had a chance, they finished the chance. And in most circumstances, you're going to still come away with a 3-2 or a 2-2 win in that situation.
Yeah. So, but with our team, though, do you think that they would do that in reverse? Because I don't. Like, I think Dallas came into this game thinking we're not going to have a lot of the ball. And if we have a chance, we have to take it. So they approached like their little chances they got. They approached with urgency, you know? And I don't think this team, when it gets chances, I don't think it approaches them with urgency. It doesn't treat them like precious.
Yeah.
That like we have to capitalize on this.
Well, part of that's suffering from success and that they do tend to generate tons of opportunities.
Yeah, tons of half opportunities that are not converted.
Right. Yeah. And I will say the first two goals from Dallas, brutal, tough defending. You can criticize anyone and everyone on those.
Lucho, especially. I said it before, but like it's an outright lack of effort play, which you don't see a lot of with FC Cincinnati.
The third can't happen.
No.
Oh, I was going to say there's nothing you can do on the third one. No,
there absolutely is. You can get in front of your man and you cannot play passive defense like Miles Robinson.
These center backs should not be beaten on crosses as often as they are.
Yeah. And you can close down the guy who's going to make the cross so that he's at least under pressure when he's picking that ball out. But Miles gets completely screened off by the scorer, and you can't let that happen. You've got to get in front of your man in those situations.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's damn near perfect. Nobody's closing out a guy that far out that quickly like that. And it's a pinpoint accurate cross. It's perfectly deflected the complete opposite side of the goal. Like, that is as much luck as it is skill. And that play scores in every league against every team.
How many times this year, though, have we said, like, oh, the other team put in a pinpoint accurate cross?
I agree.
How many times have we said that about our team?
Never. That's like the one thing our team doesn't do is cross the ball.
They do cross the ball. They cross it out of bounds.
They
cross
it not
to the
pinpoint.
defender.
The other thing, too, is that this is another game where I like him. Roman didn't do anything to help this team win. Now, you can say that he had no chance to save any of these. I disagree. I think he could have done better on the first goal in particular. But like, you would like your keeper to do something, a keeper that of Roman's caliber, you'd like him to do something special on one of these goals. And it feels like when we play other teams, like we play keepers that do something special on a very regular basis. And outside of like one or two games, Roman rarely has bad games. I don't think he's had more than like one bad game this year. Roman hasn't had a lot of great games this year either, maybe like one or two. And it would have been nice if he could have done something on one of these goals.
Part of that is we give other teams' goalkeepers more chances to do spectacular things than Roman gets in some games, to kind of parrot Kevin's point.
Right. But to me, this all goes into the luck factor, though, where they capitalized on every single chance they had, that Roman didn't make any play at all. And in your average MLS game, one of those two things is not going to be true. Either the keeper is going to make a spectacular play, or the opposing team is not going to finish all of their chances.
But the fact is, though, that they turned off in moments where they let the other team have the chance to get lucky.
Oh, I agree.
And, I mean, that's a real tough look. And that's really where we are. I think the net of the game is, they were the better team on the night, and they did shut down Lucho from hurting them.
Yeah.
But that means they gave up 3 goals to bad players. Yeah. And they dropped points to a bad team at home in a stretch where they're, they were really looking to pick up points, and they haven't won a game in like 4?
3, because we won before Atlanta.
Right. So they have 2 points in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
And, they're dropping points in the Shield standings, and the stuff that we were looking to improve hasn't really improved yet. And so to the extent they were lucky to be where they were, and that getting lucky early gave them the chance to like really soar if stuff came together.
Yeah.
Well, you have like the luck coming back around and not improving the stuff that you expect to improve on. And so I think this was I think in some ways a worse result than the Atlanta game.
I mean, from another point of view, this is also just karma. Like I've been saying on the Discord that this team is water finding its level. It's a +2 goal differential team. It's probably closer to a mid-table team than a top table team on underlying metrics. And to a certain respect, this is kind of the karma backbeat from the Columbus match, where they got dominated statistically, like absolutely crushed in every category, and still scraped a point out of it. In this game, they absolutely dominate Dallas in every statistical category you can imagine. I mean, I remember that stat about Columbus's passing in the opposing third versus Cincinnati's total passes. In this game, total accurate passes for Dallas, 272. Total accurate passes in the opposing half for FC Cincinnati, 255. They almost outpassed Dallas just in Dallas's own half.
Yeah.
XG in this game, FC Cincinnati 254, Dallas 0.96, possession 63-37. This is exactly what, if we were doing a podcast for the crew the day after Hell is Real, it would be a lot of these same reactions of, this is nonsense. They're not finishing chances. There's no killer instinct. They let a bad team hang around, and now they are dropping points at home. It's almost like this was karma catching up to us a little bit from stealing a point there.
The difference between us doing that version of the crew podcast and us doing this podcast.
So we're not living in Cleveland.
The crew, right? With the crew, it's like, okay, like we have the underlying numbers, we have the system, we have the fundamentals, and we also have the opportunity to add a DP9 in the summer. This is the team. I know, like there's that I think there's not just from Tom Bogert, but most recently from Tom Bogert, linking FC Cincinnati to wanting to add at the U22 level.
Yeah.
That's not going to radically change the quality of the personnel on the field. It will help, hopefully.
Yeah.
But the best, like the team's ceiling is basically on the roster.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to be halfway through the season after Saturday. They just have to do better.
Yeah.
And they have to be better. And, you see glimpses here and there, and they did dominate the underlying stats, but if you're going to dominate the underlying stats but then just give goals away, that's not what you're like, results aren't going to improve.
Yeah. And you're not saying anything Pat Noonan isn't saying as well. Again, going back to his comments here, he said it was a tale of two halves. We were excellent in the first half, and we were embarrassing in the second half. Said that falls on me because there were guys out there that had no idea how to manage a 2-goal lead and how to manage the momentum we had coming out of the break.
I hate this line. I hate it because I don't want you to manage a 2-goal lead. I want you to win by 4.
Yep.
Right.
I want you to score a third and a fourth and put the game away. And like that line from Pat Noonan, that bothered me when I read it, where it's like, I know that he thinks that's aggressive. And Carter Chapley, noted how aggressive this tone was. Damon said the same thing. To me, that is a fundamental misunderstanding of the goal of the game. You have 45 minutes to come out in the second half. Crush them. Put them away. And they didn't do it. And in this league, where you get wacky results in wacky games, you've got to put teams away and you got to put your foot down on the throat.
Yeah. I'm glad this team can hold leads at times.
Yeah.
I don't like that it sounds like the preference is to hold leads.
Yeah.
You have more talent than basically anybody you play, and you certainly don't have less talent than anybody you're playing. You should be thinking build leads, not hold leads.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus 2 goal differential. And that's just not getting it done right now.
All right. Part 2.
Yeah. Sorry, my internet was unstable. No, I completely agree. So let's head on over to part 2. Let's dive in further into Lucho's comments because, oh boy, there's a lot we can discuss here. And let's do that. All right, we are back. Part 2. Oh boy, this is fun. So we finally get some drama, and I gotta say, hey, thank you MLS for finally giving us cash transfers. Thank you for letting us move really good players between teams and letting moments like this exist because my God, this is fun. During the game, Lucho Acosta is booed and booed hard the entire time, not just by the Bailey, although certainly by the Bailey when he was doing corners, but the entire stadium booed him for every touch. He basically got the Frankie Amaya treatment without a personalized hate chant, basically. It was, I said on the show I would boo him. I know both of you said you probably weren't going to boo him.
And I did not.
This was more than I expected, even as somebody who was looking to boo them. Now, the real fun comes after the game.
Okay, so I'm just going to read Laurel's full tweets because there's context in there. So former FC Cincinnati star Luciano Acosta said he was hurt by the booing tonight. They booed to me, but I don't deserve that. I helped bring a supporter shield here, and they should be better, like more grateful. Question, did that get in your head, Lucho? I feel bad because I want a supporter shield here. I brought the first league MVP to the club, the first trophy for the club, and I think I deserve more than that. I've seen various versions of that quote. I think Caleb Noe from one of the local TV stations posted video if you want to search that out and see it for yourself. And I will say, I was against booing before the match, and I actually criticized the booing on Twitter during the match.
How do we feel now?
I think he's talked himself into deserving having been booed. Because
just so tone deaf. What the hell?
He's so you have to understand how your actions were perceived. And me, I was like, yeah, he's just like a little bit of a wild card. He's like a special little guy. and he just like runs around and has emotional reactions to stuff.
Kind of like us after a loss.
Yeah, I was happy not
We're
holding
the same.
it. Yeah, I was happy not holding it against him too much. Thinking like, man, that was like a real dumb thing he did, but like we're past it. We've got Evander and Denkey. We're moving.
Yeah.
But for him to be like, oh, well, to act like he doesn't know why he was booed and saying people should be grateful, like that's wild.
The word grateful is
I hate that
word.
That's the moment that got me.
Visceral reaction to that. Again, not to hand to ISIS, Taylor Twellman on MLS 360 had this perfectly, and it's real simple. It's, my man, you asked to leave.
Yes.
Didn't you just ask?
Yeah, you demanded.
Forced your way out.
Not you forced your way out. Like the
demanded the GM be fired.
The corpse of the season last year wasn't cold.
Oh.
And you were looking for a camera saying, I want out, and saying that like this team hasn't treated me right. I feel betrayed. You cut an interview to Laurel where it's everyone's fault but your own. You
said if they would fire Chris Albright, I would still be here.
He skipped the end of season press conference to go on ESPN
saying
Argentina.
He had a family thing.
Yeah. Lying to the team. And I don't care if the timeline doesn't match up. This is what I believe. This is my truth. Okay.
Yeah.
He did not show up to the end of season press conference to go on ESPN Argentina to talk about how he was no longer going to play for FC Cincinnati and he was really looking forward to playing for Boca Juniors.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too. And this rubbed me the wrong way in Laurel's article where she did an interview with him before the game, and he talked about some of these situations, quintupled down on it with his post-game comments.
Yeah.
I have a real bad taste in my mouth that the most conveniently forgotten aspect of Lucho Acosta's departure from FC Cincinnati are his personal reasons and his family situation that is referred to in all of these stories. It's always vague family situations. And you know what? I'm not interested in hearing what Chris Albright's fault was in this until I hear a little bit from Lucho Acosta about what the family situation was and whose fault that was. Because you don't have to dig too deep or talk to too many people that are connected to this team, connected to the fan base, connected to the city, connected to that contingent of players to know that Lucho Acosta is most likely very far from blameless on the family situation that led to him deciding he wanted to be out of Cincinnati. Yeah. I don't want to get too deep into it because you know what? I'm acutely aware of the responsibility for spreading rumors. Let's just say it's out there. And the reason that he left this team and asked out of this team has very little to do with the office and very more to do with what was going on the home front.
Yeah. It's weird. Like you could say like, personal reasons or whatever and not elaborate. It's weird to like go after somebody who go after the general manager and like throw a lot of aspersions on the general manager and the work that he's done. Because in that case, and to Chris Albright's credit, he has not, made any attempts to rebut, these things or to say it may be some other stuff. But like, it's kind of what you're inviting.
Yeah.
When you do that. And like, again, we don't have to go there.
But somebody should. I am at the point now where if someone's going to interview Lucho Acosta, that needs to be a question. Tell me more about the family situation. And if you don't want to open up about that, then I'm not real interested in hearing your other parts of this, because now I am helping you craft a selective narrative. Then at that point, I need to hear more about that. I think from this point forward.
I'll say this though. and then I get another thing I want to hit on, but
Yeah.
it'd be one thing if like Lucho was having some success with his alternative narrative,
Yeah.
but every time he has tried to put a story out, to my eyes, he has just turned people more against him.
Yeah.
Like he has done a terrible job of managing the image. And again, like if he hadn't made those comments after the game, I'd probably be on here saying like we shouldn't have, like people should, like I am really never going to tell people like don't do this or do
Right.
this when it comes to like whether you boo or cheer and how you do those things. But I would probably be on here saying like I don't think people should have booed him is where I would be. And
Yeah.
like now I'm like, he kind of showed why it would be not an unreasonable thing to do to boo him. Right.
Ugh,
He's because this is part and parcel of how he acted on his way out. And, it's not just what he did on his way out, because he's a guy who held out previously
Yes.
multiple times.
Yes.
Who I think, was signed as a DP with not a huge DP track record.
Yeah.
Like this was like we suck and we need
gotta
to overpay to
overspend.
get anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank God we overspent for that guy.
Yeah.
Right. But in his first DP deal where he made multiples more on salary than he had been paid. I think he was on like 700 at DC. He was on somewhere over $1 million at Atlas. And I think his first contract here was around 3. Could be wrong. But it was multiples more than he'd ever made his entire career. And he missed the second game, I think, of his first season.
Yeah.
It was that game at NYCFC.
Oh.
Because he went clubbing the night before the game.
Broke his arm.
And
right?
broke his arm. Or fell and hurt his arm.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the first things that ever happened when he was with the team. And
the good old days.
You go through like, he was pouty here and there. He held out multiple times, but then would also do things like put statements out and take ads out and say like, this is my city and Cincinnati is my family and stuff. And like, that was all just part of dealing with Lucho. Right.
Yeah.
But when you look at all of that with the way he departed, it does color all the stuff that happened before.
Yes.
And I think there will be a time when all this is way past. Right. But
or it just gets escalated the next time we play him in some sense.
We may never play him again.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind we're playing him again at some point. I don't know when, I don't know where. This story is not over.
It's a shame this was midweek, I think. It would have been fun to have this.
And like, again, like I didn't boo. I was surprised at the fervor of the booing.
Same. Like, I didn't think the normies cared that much. But like the one unforgivable sin in Cincinnati is saying you don't love Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right. But my guy, you have to know.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be that clueless. And I think he is, at least in the near term, is, especially if we play him again, like if you play him next year, like it's like he's an antagonist at the moment.
Yeah. There's like the sad thing is, and this is what I think may be happening. We were absolutely cheering for him, but I think that there's a part that makes you think like, oh, they're all here for me. They're cheering for me. All these people are out here for me, instead of realizing these people are cheering for the team. They are fans of the team, and I am making the team good and making the team better. And I think that got confused with Lucho, that he thought the whole team, the whole city, the whole fan base was behind him, which it was when he was doing well and performing. But at the end of the day, the second you put on another uniform or disparage the city or the team in some way, like that's what we're loyal to. We're not all going to become Dallas fans because we love Lucho.
And not only that too. It's you can't. It's I forget who posted it, and it's brilliant. Is you can't love bomb the city, and like you can't make us believe we're special, and that you love us, and that you're making statements. I want to retire here. I want to raise my family here.
Yeah.
Like this is the last team I ever want to play for. And then not less than a year and a half later, actually, I can't stand it here. I got to leave. I'm done. This chapter in my career is closed. Yeah, you don't lie to us about that.
Right.
Like if it's just about the paycheck and you're just here for a little bit, fine. But don't try to be a hero and don't claim that you're a hero. Full page ads, statements, captain's armband, I'm taking accountability, I want to do this, and then immediately throw the knife in the back. Like as hard as we loved you, it's going to be that much the same amount of hate when it turns out you betray us.
Yeah.
And it really is hard to see what a reasonable beef with the GM would have been. Because like you think about where he's like some of the departures or whatever, and it's like, my guy, these are your friends and they all wanted out.
Yeah.
So like if you go through down the list of like who has left the team that might have annoyed Lucho, when you eliminate the people who, you know, basically forced their own way out, you're like, all this is over Yamil Assad?
Right.
And Junior Moreno?
Yeah.
Yamil and Junior? That's it?
Yeah, and Assad was over just a couple of $1,000 as well.
Also, the only reason Assad was here is because you're having personal problems and needed a buddy. Let's be real here. Like,
yeah.
I will say, great for the league. The league needs more of this. The league needs more drama. They screwed up so hardcore not making this the Sunday Night Soccer match. Lucho Acosta in prime time, getting booed, being able to tell your national audience the story of the drama, the hatred, plus a 3-3 game. Like, again, the idea that like Atlanta United FC Cincinnati was a more compelling matchup than Lucho Acosta returning back to the city he just stabbed in the back. The people who make the schedule should be drawn and quartered.
Yeah. It's so stupid.
And then also the last thing I want to say on Lucho is where he's like, I gave you a supporter shield.
Yeah.
I gave you an MVP or whatever. My guy, they paid you to do this stuff. You pocketed more money. Like you probably pocketed more money in the in your time in FC Cincinnati than you pocketed your entire career combined.
He probably made upwards of multiples, $10 to $13 million over the course of his time here.
He probably made double in his at FC Cincinnati than he made total anywhere else the rest of his career. And like, we don't like you're paid the big bucks to do this stuff, man.
Yeah.
And the team was in win now mode. And you forcing your way out is not unrelated to the offensive struggles this team has experienced and the transitional bumps that it's experienced, you know, to start this year.
I will say, if Albright sort of saw this coming from last year, the brilliance of having Denkey in the building when Lucho goes on to say, they're not trying to win here is so funny.
Yeah.
That they've signed quite possibly the best pure striker this league.
Like a week later, they announced they're setting the MLS transfer record.
Yeah, right.
See, I like to believe that they brought Kevin Denkey in, but didn't tell any of the players he was coming in just because they want him to focus on this game.
Yeah.
And they bring him downstairs to meet the team after the game. And they're like, hang on, Lucho's giving an interview right here. As soon as he gets out, he's going to be so excited to see the help that is on the way.
Yep.
And he walks out having already burned the bridge that was required.
Oh, no, I regret everything.
Hey, Lucho, meet Kevin. You certainly didn't put your foot in your mouth in that interview and jeopardize being his teammate, would you?
Last point on this. I thought Jonah over at Knifey Lion Radio had the best take on this. Tweeted at halftime, "This Lucho shit sucks. Not the booing of him, just the fact he gave us no choice but to boo him. One of the biggest unforced errors I've ever seen." Yeah, that pretty well sums it up. Absolutely sucked to see that.
Sucked that his return to FC Cincinnati was on the 9th anniversary of the day we lost Harambe, too. Just a dark day in Cincinnati history altogether. Not a lot of good stuff happens on May 28th.
Well, speaking of May, there's still one more game left in this season. Let's very quickly talk about it and predict it. All right, we are back, and Chief, I think whatever the piles of puke had in them has gotten into my system. I have struggled on as long as I can. Let's wrap this up quickly. DC United comes to town. Christian Benteke is injured. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't think I can name another player on their roster. And I think
Dom Baji?
Oh, okay. I got one in me.
Yeah, they got one.
Oh, we're gonna boo Dom.
We should cheer him extra hard.
That's fully a joke.
Do not boo Dom Baji.
If anybody boos Dom Baji, I don't think anybody will.
We're cheering
for Dom.
We're cheering all former players except Lucho now. He's going to learn a lesson as a result of his comments.
Yes.
If anybody were to boo Dom for any reason other than something,
smack somebody that boos Dom Baji.
I guess Dom could do something during the game that warrants a boo, but otherwise, like, you put a stop to it.
Yeah,
like,
I think he would apologize.
We like Dominique Baji,
right?
Yes. Okay.
This is a pro Baji.
Dominique Baji is still best friend.
Dom Baji spoke highly of FC Cincinnati and helped recruit Brian Anunga here. So even though he left the team, he is still out there doing work for the team. So you gotta love that.
Is this a must win? Is this a must win or a can't lose game?
Must win.
Must win.
I think this is must win. Did we already play DC United?
We did.
Yes. Okay. And I thought I was going crazy. I was like, I thought we already played DC at home.
Yeah,
because I had a false memory of like being in the stadium when Dado scored the game-winning goal. But no, that was in DC.
No,
so I watched that on TV.
That game was super memorable. That was the game Nick Haglund put Benteke in his pocket.
That's right.
Like he put him in the torture chamber for 90 minutes in that game. It was beautiful.
But somehow, I guess that Dado goal was so important to me. Like such a core memory that my brain had like rewired it to where I was there in person.
Brian Williams syndrome right here.
Yeah.
It's such a funny pull.
Yeah, I was, I picked up Nelson Mandela from the airport.
Taking live fire in the chopper there.
We were in jail together for 3 years.
Right. Yeah, and you were watching the movie Kazam or Shazam.
After reading your copy of the Berenstein Bears. I am going to say
we beat them 1-0 last time. Dado Valenzuela, the sole goal scorer in the 29th minute, continued, Chief.
3-1. I feel like there will be a response in this game. That and DC United is dreadful, and at some point we're going to beat a bad team. I just refuse. If they do not light DC up, it's going to be a very long 2 weeks with this team on a layoff, and this is their last home game until July.
The last win in the league for DC United was a 2-1 victory over the Colorado Rapids on May 3rd. They do have a win over the Charleston Battery on May 6th in the Open Cup, and they did knock out Charlotte in the Open Cup on May 21st, but that was after penalties in a 3-3 game. So it has been nearly a month since they won in the league.
So you're saying they're due?
Wait, no.
No. For me, I think it's a 2-0. And
Defeat.
we're kind of, I think the FC wins 2-0. And I think we're kind of left thinking, Like we get a very inconclusive start to like the 2-week break.
I like that.
I don't like that.
I was thinking
I like to
along,
win, but
I was thinking along the same lines. I was going to say 4-2. You got to be happy with the offensive output, but I think if you lay out the goals in the right array, you can craft many a narrative. So I think that's where I'm going to go with 4-2 victory for the FC, and I think Dado Valenzuela scores again in this game. I think he keeps it going.
it'd be great for the 2 weeks of content afterwards. If we have a question as is Dado the man?
It's Pride Night.
Yes.
I've had multiple people mention that they're not doing Pride in June. There are no home games in June.
Correct.
So this was the closest they could get.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give them a pass on not doing Pride Night in June. I know in the past they've done some weird stuff, like friendship night in October.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Quality night, I believe.
Like, my aunt's platonic lifelong friend night in October. They've done stuff like that. But
my uncle's roommate.
I think this is a true legitimate Pride Night, and it's not. They're hosting Club World Cup in June, so home games in June weren't possible. I'm going to give them credit for this one, and enjoy yourselves, and maybe we'll see some fun protests.
Yeah. The next game I guess they could have done was Saturday, July 5th, which I feel like you're not going to do it.
Well, I feel like the takes would be off the chart if that happened, and I'd sooner rather not.
Yeah.
If it's a choice between the day before June or 5 days after, I would sooner not.
Also, is July 5th some like Independence Day America?
That's what I'm assuming.
Too?
There's some sort of military appreciation, rah America thing. But then the game after that, say, okay, let's skip the holiday week, go to the next one. Hell is real, and I feel like you got to let that.
Pride is real.
You got to let that one breathe.
It wasn't until Grayson said about the protest.
Right, unless you want to remind anybody, hell is real on Pride Night either.
Oh my God.
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
I did realize in this 1 second, I should have brought this up earlier. You said
it's a joke for Episcopalians and Episcopalians only.
You talked about protests outside the game. The Jesus guy that stands in the median right across the street with TQL Stadium shouting into the megaphone was really getting on my nerves as I was waiting at the crosswalk, and he yelled at me, "Sir, do you know where Jesus is?" And I looked at him and I said, "You're looking at him." I think I might have. Did I blaspheme us into a loss?
That's a funny line. I like it. You're looking at him.
Yeah. You're looking at him
is a good kind of stock response. just like you gotta have a couple of things that you just spout off. So that you like, in case somebody like accosts you have like something like in the chamber you can just
something
say,
witty,
right? That just say, so there's not like a moment where you're like and you're looking at him as a pretty good one.
Yeah,
but
I think I might have cursed. That might have been. Flown too close to the sun
it's disarming because, as we all know in the Gospel of John, that the kingdom of heaven is within you. So if he is to look at you and see Jesus, I can't think of anything more religious to respond with.
That's exactly right.
Right. What if God was one of us?
Just a slob like one of us.
just riding on the bus.
Just a Slav,
I'm
like one of us.
So
He's like Bulgarian.
God is Pavel.
What if God was Polish?
What if the Orthodox were right? Oh no!
It's the new under the new chronology. God is from Vladivostok.
Jesus Christovsky.
It's a shame we don't have a Jesus on the team, because then you could have responded like, he's starting at left back. That would have been funny.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus. Or Columbus, for that matter. Fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next, or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.